Buckle up, movie fans, because 2025 is going to be a wild ride at the box office. We're talking superhero epics, the return of some seriously iconic franchises, and a whole bunch of directors who are ready to just totally blow our minds.
Yeah, and we're not just talking quantity here. It's
Yeah.
the sheer range of genres and stories coming out that's got me really pumped. Honestly, feels like Hollywood is like finally trying to, cater to every kind of movie lover out there.
I like it. So for this deep dive, we've got a fantastic article from Se Pegó el Texto that highlights all the must-see films of 2025. You might want to start clearing your schedule now, though. Seriously. You need some serious movie marathon time.
Yeah, for real.
So, okay, let's unpack this treasure trove of cinematic goodness. First up, I'm super curious about all these sequels and reboots that seem to be like flooding the screens.
Oh, yeah.
We're seeing Jurassic World, Mission Impossible, even Five Nights at Freddy's is making a comeback. I mean, what do you think? Are audiences really craving more of the familiar, or could this be a recipe for like total franchise fatigue?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think it all comes down to how these franchises are evolving. Some, like Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, are actually wrapping up long-running storylines. This is potentially Tom Cruise's last time as Ethan Hunt, so that sense of closure might be a big draw for fans.
Yeah, true. It's like the end of an era.
Yeah.
But what about something like Jurassic World Rebirth? I mean, dinosaurs are always cool, but are they doing anything new to keep the franchise from feeling like stale?
Well, this is where it gets interesting. They've brought back David Cupp, the screenwriter of the original Jurassic Park, to write this new installment. That could signal a return to, that suspenseful, character-driven storytelling that made the first film such a classic.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's like they're listening to the fans who, want that classic Jurassic Park vibe. What about M3GN 2.0? That first one was like a surprise hit, but can they really recapture that magic?
The original M3GN really tapped into our collective anxieties about, technology, especially AI, with that creepy doll twist. And let's be honest, who can forget that viral dance scene? I think the sequel's going to build on those elements for sure, but hopefully it'll also dig deeper into the story and characters.
Yeah, no one wants to see M3GN just doing the same dance for 2 hours straight.
Oh, exactly.
I need substance. Okay, speaking of sequels, we're getting a double dose of superhero action in 2025. Marvel is hitting us with Captain America, Brave New World, and the super intriguing Thunderbolts, while DC is finally giving us a new Superman. And let's not forget the Fantastic Four First Steps. It's like a comic book fan's dream come true, but also kind of a lot to keep track of.
It's total superhero overload, I agree. But I think it's exciting to see these studios trying different approaches. Thunderbolts is going for an anti-hero team, which is a darker, more morally ambiguous direction. It's not your typical good guys save the day narrative.
Right. And the cast is insane. They've got Florence Pugh, Sebastian Stan, David Harbour. Talk about an all-star team. I'm so curious to see the chemistry between those characters.
Totally. And then on the other hand, you've got James Gunn's Superman reboot. It seems to be focusing more on Clark Kent's internal struggles, Sounds like we'll see him grapple with his dual identity and what it means to be a symbol of hope in a world that often feels pretty hopeless.
Oh, that's interesting. So less punching bad guys, more existential crisis. That's a pretty refreshingly human take on Superman.
I like it.
I like it. But hold on. You mentioned something about Harrison Ford playing Red Hulk in Captain America. Tell me more about that.
Oh, yeah. This casting choice feels like Marvel's playing the long game. Bringing in an iconic actor like Harrison Ford, suggests they're setting up a major storyline. It could even lead to an epic clash between him and Anthony Mackie's Captain America. It's a clever way to draw in both longtime fans and those who grew up watching Ford in everything.
That's wild. Okay, so it feels like the Marvel Universe just got a whole lot bigger. Now, before we move on, I have to ask about the horror films that are lurking on the horizon. We've got Wolfman, Sinners, and The Bride. Just those titles alone are giving me chills. What's grabbing your attention in the realm of horror?
I think it's interesting to see how 2025 is revisiting classic monsters with a modern twist. Wolfman, for example, seems to be less about jump scares and gore and more about exploring the psychological horror of transformation. What happens to your humanity when you turn into a beast,
Ooh, that's a chilling thought. Now, Sinners sounds absolutely terrifying. What do we know about this one?
So the premise is creepy enough on its own. Twin brothers returning to their hometown only to encounter this terrifying evil. But what makes it really interesting is the director, Ryan Coogler. He's known for his incredible work on Creed and Black Panther, and this is actually his first time directing a horror film. It's going to be fascinating to see how he applies his signature style to something so dark and unsettling.
I'm already picturing Michael B. Jordan facing off against some supernatural force, and I am here for it. Okay, enough with the scary stuff for now. Let's shift gears and talk about animation. 2025 is bringing us like this delightful mix with Paddington in Peru, a Minecraft movie, Elio, How to Train Your Dragon, even a new SpongeBob movie. I mean, who doesn't love a talking sponge? What are you most excited about in the world of animation?
What's great about this lineup is that there's truly something for everyone. You've got your wholesome family fun with Paddington and SpongeBob, but then you have films that could potentially explore darker or more mature themes, like a Minecraft movie. It all depends on how the filmmakers approach the material.
That's true. I'm especially curious about a Minecraft movie. It's a game about building blocks, so how do you turn that into like a compelling story?
That's where the director comes in. Jerry Hess, known for his offbeat comedies like Napoleon Dynamite, is directing this one. His quirky, deadpan style could really subvert expectations and create something unique and hilarious.
Yeah, that's true. He's a really interesting choice. I'm intrigued. And what about Pixar's Elio? That one seems to be generating a lot of buzz.
Yeah, Elio takes that classic Pixar formula of heart and humor and just blasts it into outer space. It's about this young boy who's accidentally beamed up and mistaken for Earth's ambassador to like this intergalactic organization. Imagine being a kid thrust onto that kind of stage. It's a story about self-discovery, finding your voice, and the importance of embracing what makes you different.
Okay, Pixar, you have my attention. But hold on, you mentioned How to Train Your Dragon is coming back. Is Toothless returning to the big screen?
He is, but this time it's live action. That's a risky move, bringing a beloved animated franchise into the real world. It'll be interesting to see how they translate the animation style and those heartfelt emotions into a live-action format. But the good news is, Dean DeBlois, who wrote and directed the animated trilogy, is on board as a writer and producer for this one. So hopefully it'll stay true to the spirit of the franchise.
I hope so. Okay, get ready for a name-drop extravaganza because 2025 is bringing out like the big guns in directing. We're talking Paul Thomas Anderson, Yorgos Lanthimos, Bong Joon-ho, James Cameron, and Danny Boyle. Just hearing those names makes me giddy. Where do we even begin?
Let's start with the mysteries surrounding Paul Thomas Anderson's untitled project. He's reuniting with Leonardo DiCaprio and Sean Penn, and the cast also includes Alana Haim, Tiana Taylor, and newcomer Chase Infinity. Plot details are under wraps. But, knowing Anderson's reputation for crafting complex characters in visually stunning films, the anticipation is already through the roof.
It's like he's saying, trust me, it's going to be amazing, and we all just nod and say, okay, we believe you.
What about Yorgos Lanthimos? His films are always, well, let's just say unique. What's he got in store for us?
Lanthimos is bringing us Bugonia, a sci-fi comedy about conspiracy theories. Get
Oh.
this. Two young men kidnap a CEO because they believe she's an alien planning to, destroy the planet. It's classic Lanthimos, that blend of dark humor, surreal visuals, and social commentary that makes you squirm and laugh at the same time. So definitely not your typical lighthearted rom-com.
Got it.
But if anyone can make alien abduction funny, it's probably Lanthimos. Okay, now on to Bong Joon-ho. What has the mastermind behind Parasite cooked up for us this time?
Get ready for Mickey 17, a mind-bending sci-fi thriller starring Robert Pattinson as like a disposable employee sent on a deadly mission to colonize this ice world. The catch: when an employee dies, they're cloned with all the memories of their predecessor.
Whoa, so Pattinson is basically playing multiple versions of the same character. Talk about a challenge.
Exactly. It fits perfectly with Joon-ho's exploration of, class inequality and the ethics of technology, all wrapped up in this visually stunning and suspenseful package. You're in for a wild ride when you sit down for a Bong Joon-ho film.
I'm adding that one to my must-watch list immediately.
Oh.
Of course, we can't forget about James Cameron. What's happening with the Avatar saga?
Avatar. Fire and Ash is the third chapter in Cameron's epic journey to Pandora. Plot details are scarce, but we know it continues the story of Jake Sully and Neytiri as they fight to protect their world and their people from, human greed and exploitation. Expect groundbreaking visuals, breathtaking landscapes, and Cameron's signature blend of action and emotional depth.
He's like the king of world building.
Yeah.
Okay, last but not least, we have Danny Boyle returning to his zombie roots with 28 years later. I'm already feeling those chills.
Yeah, this is actually the third film in the 28 Days Later franchise, and the first in a brand new trilogy. Cillian Murphy is back as Jim, and we'll see how he's navigated the zombie apocalypse after all these years. Boyle is a master of suspense and visual storytelling, so expect a thrilling and thought-provoking addition to the zombie genre.
It's amazing. Okay, so we've covered the heavy hitters, the blockbusters, the familiar faces. But now I want to talk about those hidden gems. The underdogs, the films that could surprise us all. There are a few titles on this list that have me intrigued. Snow White, Ballerina, F1, Freakier Friday, The Bride, Michael, and The Running Man? Any of these standing out to you?
There are some really fascinating projects in that list. Movies that could be sleeper hits or even future cult classics. Snow White, for example, is already generating a lot of buzz. It's a live-action adaptation of the classic fairy tale starring Rachel Zegler as Snow White and Gal Gadot as the evil queen. The casting has sparked some debate, and the film's release was delayed because of the recent Hollywood strikes. But it'll be interesting to see if it can capture the magic of the original story and make its own mark on the fairy tale genre.
It's always a gamble with those live-action remakes. Some work, some don't. But Ballerina sounds like it could be a winner.
Ballerina is a spin-off from the John Wick franchise, which is known for its stylish action and intricate world-building. Ana de Armas stars as this deadly assassin on a revenge mission. Think intense fight choreography, breathtaking stunts, and a strong female lead like totally taking charge. It's a smart move expanding that world with a fresh perspective.
Oh, I am so there for that. Strong women, intense action. Count me in. Now, did I see correctly that Brad Pitt is starring in a racing movie called F1?
You did. It's not just a typical racing movie, though. It blends real-life Formula One racing with a fictional storyline. Brad Pitt plays a retired driver who's mentoring this young prodigy in all 10 real-life Formula One teams, and their drivers are appearing as themselves. It's a unique mix of Hollywood drama and authentic racing action.
That's wild. Imagine the intensity of those race sequences, the speed, the danger. This was officially on my radar. What else have we got?
The Bride offers a fresh take on a classic story. It's a feminist reimagining of the Frankenstein tale, written and directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal. Jessie Buckley stars as the bride, and Christian Bale takes on the role of Frankenstein's monster. It's a bold move, reclaiming this iconic story and exploring themes of female agency and creation from a new perspective.
That's officially the most intriguing take on Frankenstein I've ever heard. I'm always up for a fresh take on a classic. Now, I have to ask about Michael. Is that a Michael Jackson biopic?
It is, and it's sure to be a complex and potentially controversial film. It'll have to address the complexities of Jackson's life and legacy, including the accusations against him, and finding that balance will be a challenge. It'll be interesting to see how director Antoine Fuqua approaches such sensitive material.
That's a lot to handle, and I hope they approach it with care. Now, last on our list of potential sleepers is The Running Man a remake, right?
It is. It's a remake of the 1987 Arnold Schwarzenegger film, based on the Stephen King novel. This version stars Josh Brolin and Glenn Powell, and it's directed by Edgar Wright, the mastermind behind visually inventive and hilarious films like Shaun of the Dead and Baby Driver. It'll be fascinating to see how he updates the story for a modern audience while still retaining the core elements that made the originals so iconic.
Okay, so you've got remakes, reboots, sequels, original stories, and a whole lot of cinematic excitement brewing. 2025 is shaping up to be like a wild ride at the box office.
Yeah.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about a potential for some box office battles. When you have this many big films hitting theaters, some of them are bound to clash. What are some of the major release date showdowns we should be watching out for?
Well, Valentine's Day is already heating up with like a battle of the titans. Captain America, Brave New World versus Paddington in Peru. It's a classic showdown between superhero action and heartwarming family fun. Who will reign supreme? It's tough to say.
That is a tough one. I mean, who doesn't love a charming bear on a Peruvian adventure? But then again, it's Captain America. It's a real dilemma. What else have we got?
Memorial Day weekend is another clash of the titans with Mission Impossible. The final reckoning going head-to-head with the live-action Lilo and Stitch. Both films have huge fan bases, so it'll be interesting to see which one captures the hearts and wallets of audiences. Will it be Tom Cruise's death-defying stunts or the heartwarming story of a little alien finding her place in the world?
Man, that's a tough one. Tom Cruise hanging off skyscrapers versus a cuddly alien with a penchant for destruction. How can anyone choose? All right, any other clashes on the horizon?
June is shaping up to be a month of fierce competition with M3GN 2.0 going up against Brad Pitt's F1. It's killer robots versus high-octane racing. It'll be fascinating to see which genre reigns supreme.
Wow, 2025 is not messing around. It's going to be a box office bonanza, and I, for one, am here for it.
Welcome back to our 2025 movie preview. I don't know about you, but I'm already feeling overwhelmed by all the amazing films coming out.
Right. It's a good overwhelm, though, like standing in front of a giant candy store and just not knowing where to start. Speaking of overwhelming choices, I wanted to dig a little deeper into some of the films that are, sparking the most buzz. Especially those that are maybe generating a bit of controversy. Take Snow White, for instance. It's facing some backlash for its casting. And, some are saying it's just another unnecessary live-action remake. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's definitely a hot topic. I get the skepticism around live-action remakes, especially when you have, such a beloved classic like Snow White. but I'm trying to keep an open mind. Rachel Zegler, who's playing Snow White, is an incredible talent. I mean, I loved her in West Side Story. And let's not forget the director Mark Webb. He has a knack for bringing heart and humor to his films, like 500 Days of Summer and those amazing Spider-Man movies. So maybe there's something special here.
Okay. You've got me thinking. And Gal Gadot as the evil queen? That's some serious casting. I can already picture her with that wicked grin, you know, plotting and scheming.
Oh, totally. Godot definitely has the charisma and the presence to pull off like a villainous role. I'm curious to see how she balances the queen's cruelty with her vulnerability. You know, remember, the queen is driven by vanity and a fear of aging. There's a lot of psychological depth to explore there.
You're right. It's not just about being evil. It's about understanding the motivations behind the evil.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you've officially piqued my interest. I'm willing to give Snow White a chance. Now, what about that other potentially controversial film, the Michael Jackson biopic, Michael? That's a sensitive subject.
Yeah.
How do you think they'll navigate those complexities?
That's the big question, isn't it? Michael Jackson's legacy is so multifaceted, and the film has to acknowledge both the brilliance and the controversies. They can't ignore the allegations, but they also need to handle them with sensitivity and nuance. It's a tricky balance, and I think the success of the film will depend on how thoughtfully they approach it.
Absolutely. It's about honoring the music and the impact he had on the world while also acknowledging the very real pain that was caused. It's a tough conversation, but one that needs to be had. Okay, let's lighten things up a bit and talk about some sequels that have us excited. 2025 is bringing back a ton of beloved franchises, from Jurassic World to Mission Impossible. I don't know about you, but I am ready for some dinosaur mayhem and Ethan Hunt defying death once again. What sequels are you most looking forward to?
You know, I have to admit, I'm a sucker for a good action-packed sequel, and Mission Impossible. The Final Reckoning has me on the edge of my seat already. This is supposedly Tom Cruise's last go-around as Ethan Hunt, and, they're gonna go all out. I'm expecting insane stunts, breathtaking action sequences, and hopefully a satisfying conclusion to this epic saga.
Oh, totally. I can already picture Tom Cruise, like, hanging off a space shuttle or something equally insane. That man is a force of nature. But what about Jurassic World Rebirth? I love dinosaurs as much as the next person, but are you worried about dinosaur fatigue at this point?
It's a valid concern. We've seen a lot of dinosaurs on screen lately, and it takes a lot to keep things fresh. But like we talked about earlier, bringing back David Cuff, the original Jurassic Park screenwriter, is a good sign. Maybe this signals a return to the roots of the franchise, focusing more on suspense, character development, and those, edge-of-your-seat moments that made the first film so iconic.
I hope so. There's nothing quite like that feeling of awe and terror when you see a T-Rex on the big screen.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the sequel I'm personally most excited for. M3GN 2.0. That killer robot doll had me hooked, and that dance scene, iconic. What can we expect from the sequel, do you think?
I think they'll definitely lean into the elements that made the first film so successful, that creepy doll horror, the commentary on technology, and of course the dance moves. But I'm hoping they'll also explore M3GN's origins and motivations a bit more, like what drives her, what is her relationship with her human companion really like. There's a lot of potential to go deeper with the story.
Absolutely. And I want to see more of Allison Williams as Gemma M3GN's creator. She was fantastic in the first film, and I'm interested to see how she deals with the consequences of her creation.
Yeah.
This whole idea of AI becoming so advanced that it blurs the lines between machine and human is both fascinating and terrifying.
You hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of potential to explore those ethical dilemmas and the complex relationship between humans and AI. And let's not forget the dark humor. The first film had this wickedly funny side, and I'm hoping they'll keep that going in the sequel.
Oh, for sure. It's that blend of horror, humor, and social commentary that makes M3GN so unique. Okay, before we move on to some of the original films, I have to ask, are you excited about the return of Tron? I have a soft spot for that franchise, even though Sequel Tron Legacy didn't quite live up to the original.
I'm cautiously optimistic, Tron. Ares has a new director, Joachim Renning, who has a pretty diverse filmography. He directed Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, which was a visual spectacle, and the Oscar-nominated Kon-Tiki, which was a gripping survival story. It'll be interesting to see what he brings to the Tron universe.
And let's not forget Jared Leto as the lead. He's always an interesting choice, and I'm curious to see how he portrays a character who's essentially like a program come to life.
Leto's known for his method acting, so I'm sure he'll dive deep into the role. I'm picturing him disappearing into the digital world, blurring the lines between reality and virtuality. It could be really cool.
Okay, Tron. Ares is officially back on my radar. Enough about sequels, though. Let's dive into some of the original films that have us buzzing with anticipation. Top of my list has to be Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17. That premise about a disposable employee who's repeatedly cloned is just mind-blowing. What are your initial thoughts on this one?
Bong Joon-ho is a visionary director, and Mickey 17 sounds like his most ambitious project yet. The idea of an employee being repeatedly cloned, each version carrying the memories of its predecessors, is both fascinating and disturbing. It speaks to Joon-ho's exploration of social themes, class inequality, the exploitation of labor, the ethics of technology, and he always does it in such a captivating and unexpected way.
And with Robert Pattinson in the lead role, it's a match made in cinematic heaven. Pattinson has shown such incredible range, from the Batman to Good Time to The Lighthouse. He's not afraid to take risks and push himself as an actor. I have a feeling he's going to knock this one out of the park.
I agree. Pattinson is a chameleon constantly transforming himself for each role. I'm eager to see how he portrays the psychological effects of being cloned over and over again, carrying the weight of all those past lives. It's a role that demands both physical and emotional intensity.
I'm already feeling the existential dread. Another original film that has me intrigued for very different reasons is Bugonia, the new sci-fi comedy from Yorgos Lanthimos. His films are always so delightfully strange and thought-provoking. What can you tell me about this one?
Lanthimos is a master of satire and dark humor, and Bugonia seems to be right up his alley. The premise about two men who kidnap a CEO because they believe she's an alien is both absurd and strangely relatable. We've all encountered people in positions of power who seem a little out of touch with reality, right?
Right, like they're from another planet. But on a serious note, I appreciate that Lanthimos' films always make you think. They're not just entertainment. They're challenging our perceptions of the world, our social systems, even our own humanity. And with Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons in the lead roles, I have a feeling we're in for some truly memorable performances.
Stone and Plemons are both incredible actors, and I can't wait to see them bring Lanthimos' unique vision to life. It's going to be a wild ride, that's for sure.
Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I have to mention one more original film that's caught my eye. The Bride, a feminist reimagining of Frankenstein. Sign me up.
I am so excited about this one. Maggie Gyllenhaal is such a talented actress and filmmaker, and her directorial debut, The Lost Daughter, was brilliant. She has this sharp eye for social commentary, and I think she'll bring a fresh perspective to the Frankenstein story, exploring themes of female creation autonomy and the consequences of defying societal expectations.
And with Jessie Buckley and Christian Bale as the leads, it's a power duo. I have a feeling this film is going to be both visually stunning and emotionally resonant.
Absolutely. Buckley and Bale are both phenomenal actors who bring such depth and nuance to their roles. I can't wait to see them breathe new life into these iconic characters.
Okay, that's a wrap for part 2 of our 2025 movie preview. We've delved into the controversial, the exciting, the thought-provoking, and everything in between.
But we're not done yet. Join us for part 3, where we'll discuss the impact of streaming services on the film industry, analyze the box office battles, to come and share our personal picks for the movies we're most excited to see.
Welcome back, movie fans. We've explored a ton of films coming out in 2025, from those superhero blockbusters to the indie darlings. But there's one big factor we haven't really discussed yet that's shaking up the entire movie landscape: streaming services. They're changing how we watch movies, and I'm curious to get your take on their potential impact in 2025.
Yeah, streaming has become this rival and a partner to traditional cinema. On one hand, you've got platforms like Netflix and Apple TV. Plus, they're pouring money into their own original films, often attracting those A-list actors and directors.
Yeah.
And that puts pressure on movie theaters to offer something you can't get at home.
Yeah, it makes you think twice about spending money on a ticket when you could just stay in your pajamas and watch something new on your couch.
Right. Exactly. But, streaming also creates opportunities for smaller independent films that might not get a wide theatrical release. These platforms have become champions for those hidden gems, giving them a global reach that they wouldn't have otherwise.
That's a great point. It's not just about the blockbusters. It's about expanding the cinematic landscape and giving a voice to, more diverse stories.
Mm-hmm.
And what about that hybrid model that's emerging, where films get a limited theatrical release and then quickly move to streaming?
Yeah, that's becoming more and more common. It allows filmmakers to reach a wider audience while still giving those movie lovers the option to experience those films on the big screen. It's all about finding that balance.
Speedy of balance. Let's talk about those box office battles brewing in 2025. With so many major films hitting theaters, there are bound to be some epic showdowns. What release date clashes have you, circled on your calendar?
Well, Valentine's Day is going to be a fascinating matchup right out of the gate. We've got Captain America, Brave New World, going head-to-head with Paddington in Peru. It's like the ultimate battle of superhero might versus heartwarming family fun. Who do you think will win that one?
Oh, man, that's a tough call. Captain America is like a global phenomenon, but who can resist the charm of Paddington Bear on a Peruvian adventure? My heart says Paddington, but my head says Captain America might have the edge at the box office.
You never know. Paddington has that underdog appeal, and families are always looking for quality entertainment. And speaking of those epic clashes, Memorial Day weekend is bringing us another one for the books. Mission Impossible. The Final Reckoning versus the live-action Lilo and Stitch. Talk about a nostalgia overload.
Tom Cruise versus a mischievous alien with a love for Elvis.
Yeah.
How can you choose? It's going to be like a battle for the ages. If I had to bet, I'd say Mission Impossible might have a slight edge just because those films always deliver on the action and the spectacle. But Lilo and Stitch has that heartwarming Disney magic, so it could be a surprise hit.
I agree. Never underestimate the power of Disney nostalgia. Now June is shaping up to be a month of triple threat showdowns. We've got M3GN 2.0 facing off against Brad Pitt's F1, and then both of them have to contend with the animated How to Train Your Dragon. It's a battle of genres, star power, and pure entertainment value.
That's a lot to process. I'm leaning towards M3GN 2.0. The first film was such a surprise hit, and I think the sequel has the potential to capture that same energy and maybe even surpass it. Plus, killer robots are just plain cool.
Can't argue with that. Okay, enough about those box office battles. Let's talk about some of the films we're personally excited to see. What's at the top of your list?
For me, it's got to be Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17. His films are always so thought-provoking and visually stunning, and the premise of this one is just mind-blowing. I'm also really intrigued by the bride Maggie Gyllenhaal's feminist reimagining of Frankenstein. That's a bold move, and I can't wait to see what she does with it.
Excellent choices. Bong Joon-ho is a master storyteller, and I'm so eager to see how he explores the themes of cloning and identity in Mickey 17. And The Bride has the potential to be this really powerful and timely reinterpretation of a classic tale. I'm also adding F1 to my list. I'm not a huge racing fan, but the combination of Brad Pitt, real-life F1 drivers, and Edgar Wright directing is just too tempting to resist.
That's a great one. Edgar Wright could definitely bring a fresh and stylish energy to the racing genre. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, but we want to hear from you. What films are you most excited to see in 2025? Head over to our social media channels and let us know what's on your must-watch list.
We love hearing your thoughts, so join the conversation, tell us what you're looking forward to, what you're skeptical about, and what hidden gems we might have missed. After all, movies are best enjoyed and discussed together.
That's right. Whether you're a diehard cinephile or just a casual moviegoer, 2025 has something for everyone. So grab your popcorn, find a comfy seat, and get ready to be entertained. The future of cinema is bright, and we can't wait to share the journey with you.
Until next time, happy viewing.
For more entertainment news, subscribe to The Hollywood Reposter.